Hey, there we go. All right, wonderful. So let's talk about business agility and why we call it an operating system. So obviously technology overtones here. Welcome to Safe and Business Agility. All right, if there are questions or comments in the chat, I may not see them just while I'm in presentation mode. So Sharky might field that for me. All right. So one comment I heard the other day, which I absolutely loved, was you only have to worry about business agility if you're a technology company. Unfortunately, A, that's not true, and B, every company is a technology company these days. You can't get away from it. We used to be in the situation where, we had this rift between business and technology in the one company, or we also had companies that didn't consider themselves technology companies. And that distinction is very rapidly disappearing because, we're in a technological age. We're in the 21st century. In fact, you will all probably be horrified to learn that we are actually in the third decade of the 21st century now. And if that doesn't freak anybody out, then I'm not trying hard enough, clearly. This technological revolution is continuing the trend of revolutions that we have had. And in looking at them, we can start to identify some patterns that have occurred, which can help us to predict what's coming next. So let's have a look at some of the revolutions that we've had previously and see what we can extrapolate from that as to where we might be going next. So first off, the Industrial Revolution. And we've got some dates on here, but the thing I want you to kind of focus on or take away from is that we had these three parts to it, these three phases, right? So there was the initial part where things were building up. Then we had this turning point where this things started to shift, and then we went into the subsequent phase where it really spread and stabilized and so on, and then that paves the way to going to the next revolution. So after the Industrial Revolution, when machinery and large scale installations of these things were starting to occur, we then went into the next phase of this steam powered revolution, because that changed everything. All of a sudden we had long range, more reliable, much more powerful ways to transport things. That changed the way everything worked. Then came in really, large scale, heavy engineering, the use of high quality, high tensile steel, which changed the way we build, infrastructure, bridges, skyscrapers, all those sorts of things. And each one of these have had quite a similar pattern to it. And then we had, mass production, huge, factory production lines, oil, diesel, large-scale petrol engines, and all the machinery and everything, the enablement that came with that. So you can see it's the same sort of pattern occurring over and over again. So we've then had a few decades of all the invention of software development, internet, the entire financial and global housing bubbles, financial markets, all those sorts of things coming up to the turning point then around the .com, Y2K, GFC, all of those sorts of things that all popped, burst, and now we're in the the follow-on arm of this software and digital age. Where is it going to take us? It's going to revolutionize, change the way the landscape of the world and businesses exist, in a similar way, which is the kind of, normalizing, the widespread, the incorporation of this as a basic, fact of life, as a basic foundation for, the things that we do. So have a look at each one of these stages. We have Initially, we have money, we have a disruption, we have a whole bunch of instability. Then we have this turning point occurs where, we start to get a handle on the problems that are happening. We start to, find out how to harness it, how to incorporate it. And then we move on then into, that follow-on period where everything, incorporates that. Hang on, I'll just admit someone. There we go. So we can theorize from this pattern that keeps recurring that a similar thing is likely to happen with our information age, with technology. That technology is going to become, completely prevalent in every area. Information, digitization, all of those things are going to become core and central and commonplace and normal, and part of everything. And in fact, we're already starting to see evidence that this is occurring. Think about Tesla as releasing not only an electronic vehicle but a technological vehicle, and they can release software, firmware updates over the air which change the way the vehicle works. That's something that's completely new and has never been possible before. Think about many other companies that would have in the past being considered to be large-scale, vehicle or hardware type companies, things like John Deere, things like Harley Davidson motorbikes. These companies are becoming more and more about the software being equally as important or more important than the traditional, bricks and mortar, products or shops. So we're already seeing evidence that this is occurring. And our organizations have not been set up to handle this. The organizations, are now facing into a world of pervasive technology, pervasive digitization, information, data is everything. And yet, with the speed that all of that data can move and change and create insights and create change, the organizations are still using a model which has been, a century or more old, where they're very hard to change, they're very static, they're set up in very rigid ways, control and decision-making is all centralized, and they're finding it very, very hard to keep up with that change, to enable that change, to support that change. They're just not built that way. So what do we do? Well, we need to kind of think about that if that organizational structure, the way we've conducted our business, the way we've created our cultures, if they are no longer the best way of doing business in this new world, then we need to change them. We need to bring new structures in. We need to bring new thinking in. We need to bring new cultures in, new mindsets. And where do we get those from? Where do we bring those in from? Well, where we already have a model that we can use to help us here. Many big tech companies now started as very small tech companies once upon a time that were innovative, that were startups, that were lean, that were hungry. And they knew that they needed to be very, very flexible. They needed to be very adaptable. They needed to be able to, have people wear multiple hats and to be able to communicate really fast with the people that they needed to work with. And so they had this idea of this, this model of a network, where it could change rapidly and people could repoint and take on new roles and try new experiments and so on. So these models were very closely in touch with their markets, their customers, their users, the business. So many many companies that are big now started small, and they started with this network model, and it worked very well. And it was what enabled them to grow to become these big, successful technology, digital companies, software companies. So what happened? What happened with some of the companies that were able to do this versus our traditional companies? Where can we draw insights into the difference, into what's worked and what hasn't worked? So some of these companies, as they grew, as they started to gain more revenue stream, more market share, more products spread, they realized that it was hard to have this network that was always changing all the time. And they felt that they needed to have some stability around that. And so they started moving more towards a traditional org chart style structure, where you had these hierarchies, where you had reporting lines, where you had fixed job titles, and they were arranged in silos around, functional groups, business functional groups, and so on. So they added this hierarchical structure, but they still had the network structure there. And, they had these linkages between them where people who were in the hierarchical organization mapped to roles that were in the flexible, fluid, in touch, nimble network. Okay. So as they grew, that mapping, that branching became more and more strained. And eventually it got to the point whereby to be able to sustain those linkages, they didn't know how to do that, or they tried it, it didn't work. And the organizational structure, the hierarchical structure, became more and more entrenched. And what ended up happening was that the network fell by the wayside, or it was felt that it was no longer needed, or it just blew up under the strain. Right? And so what happened was that the organizational, the fixed rigid structure took over, and the network kind of got sidelined or, got abandoned. And so in that, it lost a lot of that ability to respond and reorganize quickly, try new products, experiment, be in touch with their customers, and started assuming the same forms as some of the companies that have been around for decades or centuries, and that have that traditional org structure, way of working and way of structuring the business. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is to have the ability to retain all of the benefits that come with that network, with that ability to respond and change and everything. But we also want to still have the stability and the organization of the hierarchical network structure. So what we're looking to do is to say, well, how can we in fact keep those things? How can we retain both of those structures and the benefits that come with each one? Because of course the other alternative is to completely, forget about the organization or the network, so the hierarchical structure, and just try and stay and scale with the network structure, which introduces huge problems in its own right. So, what's emerging now is we want to have more of a that interplay and the benefits of having both at once. So we're talking about this operating system that has a hierarchical structure, so that jobs can be put into groups, and HR and legals and things like that can still be taken care of in a way that decades and centuries worth of business experience tells us can be done. And yet at the same time, still have the ability to reorganize around value, to be able to innovate, to be able to experiment, and so on and so on. So we need the responsiveness and the speed to market of the network, and at the same time we still need that reliability that comes with having that structure for people to live in. So how do we do that? Well, one way of doing that is with the now is the world's leading agile scaling framework called SAFe, which has with the new version, which is version 5, they have introduced, reintroduced this dual operating system of having the network as well as the hierarchical structure as a dual way of working. And so one thing about SAFe is that they keep iterating on the SAFe model. So the Scaled Agile Incorporated company, they run their business using their own model, using their own business model. So sipping their own champagne. You could say eating your own dog food, but I prefer to sip champagne than eat dog food, right? So because they run their own business using their model, they get very first-hand experience and feedback about what works and what doesn't. And so they keep iterating on it and making it more and more usable, more reliable, more fit for purpose each time they iterate on it. So that's one of the things I like about this new version 5, and they've had a dot point release now, so they're up to version 5.1, is having this dual operating system included in the model as a basic part of the structure. So as I was just referring to before, you know, it used to be that you could have businesses that weren't software businesses. Increasingly, that is no longer the case. All companies, all businesses need to start thinking about the technological implications of their business model. You know, what does it look like to have a business and to try and say in this day and age, well, you know, we don't have a mobile app, we don't have a website, we don't have an online presence on social media. Like, these things are just nonsensical anymore, even if you're making hardware widgets. So what we need to do is accept that in a technological revolution, we have a company that is going to have technological aspects to it and has technological impacts to the way it needs to run its business. And so to enable that software side of the business to still be, you know, responsive and in touch with the customers and, you know, innovative and so on, we need to have the ability to have the technology and the business side of the organization working together. So in the past, we had DevOps, which was the solution to a rift between development and operational personnel. And DevOps was the answer to that. By healing that rift, we brought them together and created a culture where we're all on one team. And so this is now where we're going with a similar situation with, you know, the technology side of a business and then the pure business side of the organization. We've have this rift, this us versus them mentality, where the business might be thinking, well, you know, technology might work agile, but that's something for tech teams to do, not something for us to worry about. And I still hear that today. I'm in coaching organizations that have this exact mentality. But we need to heal that rift. We need to bring them together into a single one organization, one team mentality, this culture of shared responsibility, just like we did with DevOps, you know, a decade ago. Now we have the business and the technology sides of an organization. We're bringing them together to say the entire organization needs to be agile. The entire organization needs to be one team, one culture. And so to do that, we're highlighting business agility. So SAFE in particular has a huge set of case studies, which you know, these benefits are reported by the customers of the case studies as to the effectiveness of taking this approach, of going down this route. So these are not SAFE's statistics or reported benefits. So these are the benefits reported by the customers who are doing these implementations. So as you can see, there's some pretty significant, pretty serious benefits to doing this. You know, 30% happier, more motivated employees, 50% faster time to market, 35% increase in productivity, and 50% defect reduction. You know, if you are a manager or a leader or an executive in a company or in an organization, and you have these sorts of improvements, these sorts of benefits on offer, I'm betting that you're going to be pretty interested in how to get those sort of benefits for your organization. Most of the time in improvement or transformation initiatives, the sorts of improvements they're talking about getting are minuscule compared to these. So these are some big, serious benefits that are being reported by the customers who are doing these initiatives, these transformations. So what do we do in terms of taking steps towards achieving that, towards making that a reality? Well, firstly, we need commitment. There needs to be a commitment because change is hard. Everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change. Change, people want change to be something that happens somewhere else, that someone else does it. But in order for us to embrace change, to be willing to be part of change, to champion change, we need to be committed to it. And part of that means that we need to know why. Why are we doing it? That commitment doesn't happen in a vacuum. So to start with, we can look at those benefits that we just showed on the previous slide. Wanting part of those benefits, whether you're an individual, whether you're a team member, whether you're a leader, those benefits are good for everyone and the organization as a whole. So that can be part of it. The commitment towards being focused on a solution is also a good place to start. Many people are focused on, the problem rather than on the solution. And they'd much rather spend time just talking over and rehashing the problem instead of actually putting that time and energy into finding and creating a solution. So that can also help build that commitment. But being open and transparent about the likelihood of achieving results without commitment can also help. We need that commitment at all levels of an organization and in all parts. Sometimes as an enterprise agile coach, I get asked, which is the best way to do an agile transformation for a company, bottom up or top down? And in my opinion, that's a bit of a trick question because it needs to be all of them. It needs to be bottom up, top down, and from the sides. You need to have, grassroots support at the team levels and the individual levels. You need to have the leadership support because otherwise nothing's going to change in the organization. They need to be willing to make changes to the organization. And then from side to side, you need the silos to be willing to come together, business, technology, and any other, silo divides that we have as well. We need to be willing to heal those rifts, to come together. So for me, it's a bit of a trick question. It needs to be all of those directions at once in order to get the entire organization truly being a lean agile organization. A quick look at the big picture, the safe big picture here. Now, don't panic, take a deep breath. If you've never seen this before, this can be a bit overwhelming. I've heard many people say that they take one look at this diagram and there's so much on it that their brain goes into overload and they shut down and they go, I can't do this. I need to go find something else, right? The really good thing about this is that the big picture shown here is part of the commitment of SAFE to provide all of their information for free. Like the model is available for free. In fact, the landing page on the website shows this picture as its landing site, and it's a fully interactive website. So every single word and icon that you see on the screen here is clickable. And if you click it, it goes through to an article 2 to 3 pages long explaining all the information about every single part of this diagram. So all of the information, it's all available for free. If you want help training people in it or implementing it, then of course that's where you can get help to do that, and you can, that's part of their business model. You can pay for that. But if you just want to self-serve and go and get the information and teach yourself or learn about it, or as a reference, it's all available for free on the website. And I really like that. So while this diagram does look, like there's a lot on it, and there's even more behind the diagram. So from a functional point of view, from a usability point of view, having this as being the first page on the website, the landing page, is very useful for me. I still go there and use it for this purpose. So realize that that's its purpose, is to be a summary infographic and a gateway, a kind of a way to get at the information. It's very different to having a brochure or a picture or a landing page on a website that is designed to sell the product. Here, that you're just given the product. So don't freak out too much about this. There is a lot of information on here by design. So here's something that's much more simple and easy to understand. And for many people, this will be much more consumable and much more accessible, right? So when it comes to business agility, what are we fundamentally talking about? What things does an organization need to be able to do? Like, what are the capabilities it needs to be able to exhibit? What are the things that it needs to build expertise in, build muscle, right? So these are the 7 things you can see here at the very base, at the bottom, underpinning everything is Lean Agile leadership. Okay, so if the leadership are not willing to, take on the mindset, the culture, the behaviors, the ways of working, then there's no foundation, there's no basis, and achieving business agility is, I would say, next to impossible. I've been in some organizations that have tried it, hasn't gone down well. Pro tip, don't do it. So then you've got the 3 on the left-hand side and the 3 on the right-hand side. So these competencies on the left-hand side are the execution, operational, delivery competencies. And then the ones on the right-hand side are the more, strategic, more higher level ones. So on the left-hand side, you have team and technical agility, because if you don't have teams doing agile, then you don't have a scaled agile framework at all. You don't have a scaled agile implementation, and you're not going to have business agility. You can't have business agility if the teams aren't doing agile. Teams are the fundamental unit. They are the core concept inside, this whole approach. The teams generate the value. The teams are the ones that are, considered to be, what this business agility needs to go anywhere. Then going up, we've got agile product delivery. We need to have a shift from continuously scoping and constraining work as projects and funding as projects, and all of the start and stop and all of the inefficiencies that come with that, and the traditional ways of of packaging stuff up in projects, to moving more to a product-based, where we have long-lived, persistent teams that work like little treadmills, little conveyor belts, where work packages can just be dropped onto these conveyor belts, and they just go out into production, out into the wild, into live land. So agile product delivery is about how to do that. And then enterprise solution delivery is about really big groups of people solving big problems. You want to go and build a habitat on Mars, right? That's a big problem to tackle. So it needs big visions and big groups of people. Then on the right-hand side, we've got the more strategic ones. So continuous learning culture. We need to adopt the stance that we don't know everything, that we will always be taking on and learning new things. And as part of that, there's improvements that can be made to our mindset, to our behaviors, and so that's considered to be one of the fundamental competencies that an organization that exhibits business agility, will have. Organizational agility, as I said previously, as I introduced, is the idea of this dual operating model and being able to be flexible, to reorganize around value. Because if we can't streamline work going through our organization by aligning around the flow of value, then we're always going to have these dependencies, these silos, these handoffs, these delays, this waste. So it's only by being able to respond and adapt and reorganize that we're going to be able to keep pace with what we need to keep pace for. And then lean portfolio management. We need to know what things we want to put our money into. Are these good choices? And how do we link up the strategy of the organization through to the execution of the work and back up again? So lean portfolio management is one of the critical competencies. All right, so those are the things that we need to have in place, but at the heart of it all, at the center of it all, needs to be Who are we doing this for? Who are our customers, our users, if this is a commercial enterprise, how do we make sure that we're taking care of our customers, that we're creating products that our customers are delighted by? And then, of course, we will have all the things that will make an enterprise successful. We'll have happy people, we'll have products and services that our customers love, loyal customers, good revenues, sustainable businesses. All those things come from making the customer at the center of everything that we do. So one of the things that we'll want to know is, compared to those competencies, how are we doing? Like, have we got them nailed, or are we very much at the start of the journey of developing those competencies? Are we experts or are we beginners? So again, with the free tools, the SAFE website has a business agility assessment, which shows for each one of those 7 core competencies, there are 3 different dimensions for each one, which gives a total of 21 axes for us to look at how is the business agility level of the organization going. And by assessing each one of those, we get one of these spider web diagrams showing a snapshot of how it is right now. And then we can look at what each one of these means and where our current rating is to know what's next. How do we improve? How do we get better? What does the next steps of our journey look like? And as you can see on this example diagram, there are some areas where we've got some great strengths, and then there's some other areas where we really need to put in a lot of work to shift the dial. So I love the fact that this tool is free. You can go and download it from the SAFE website if you wish. You can apply it for free if you wish. And it gives good insights about your current position and about the journey of next steps. And it can then be used to measure the deltas as the organization improves. So you can see that you're getting there, that you're making progress, that what are the success measures that you've achieved. So good tool there. Highly recommend going and checking that out. So finally, just to kind of put this in a bit of context for you, Scaled Agile Framework was only one of the scaling frameworks that was very, very popular. If you followed the State of Agile report about 2014, you would have seen Nexus and Less and Scrum of Scrums be much higher up the pervasiveness survey than SAFE. But every year, year after year, SAFE has ratcheted up a notch and kind of beat one of the other frameworks until I think it was about 2018. It overtook Nexus and Scrum of Scrums. And then since then, it's just continued to expand and expand and expand its market share. So very, very successful. Again, another infographic giving you some stats. 700,000 SAFE professionals, 20,000 enterprises in every industry using SAFE. The case study results really just speak for themselves. Awesome improvements to businesses that I think any business person would be interested in seeing. So some good stats there. In terms of some companies who are making use of, there's lots and lots and lots of them. Here's a sampling of some of them that you may recognize. And as I said, some of them might not be the ones that you would be expecting to see. There's government departments here. There's TomTom. So some of these might be ones you'd be expecting to see. AstraZeneca, Air France. So very different organizations than what you might be expecting to see. There's a link down the bottom there. If you're interested, go read some of the case studies that are there. Some really interesting reads there. All right, so I'll pause for a moment here. We've got some really great opportunities to get some speakers, which we've got tonight for you. So I have gone through that reasonably quickly because I wanted to keep some room for some of them to tell their experiences and their stories. But I will just pause for a moment now and ask if we have any questions that we can talk about first. And then I'll invite a couple of other little speeches for you. So any questions? I'll quickly check the chat. Lani's just asked one. Hi, Lani, wherever you are. Can you share where the case studies are located again? Absolutely, you can. We'll put that link for you in the chat channel in just a sec. But it's pretty easy to find. It's just scaledagile.com/customer stories. But we'll put that link for you in just a sec. All right, what else have we got? Roderick has a question or comment previously about making project more as product. Absolutely. Shakti's put the link there. Thank you. Roderick asks, can it be implemented for all companies? Great question. All right. So here's the thing, right? That depends entirely upon what the company want to do for themselves. Can any company move to a more products focused way of working if they want to, but do they want to? It won't necessarily be what every company want to do straight away. Many companies have got culture and mindsets and processes that have been built up over, like I said before, decades or even centuries. It's not easy to change those. It's like, one of those really big cruise ships where you start turning the wheel and the cruise ship, that no one notices any change of direction for 7 miles. It's a bit like that. But can any company be more product focused? Sure, why not? What have we got? Sorry, Roderick's just saying we have to quote all the time for custom apps. I wish you could change it. Oh, so do I. So many companies would really benefit from this. One of the things that I've found most, see, it's just saying a poor connection. Have you guys got connection?
No, we're good, Darren. We're fine.
Yeah, I think it might be yours, Sia. Sorry about that. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Yeah, absolutely. There are so many companies that are still, wedded to the idea that they have to do everything as projects. And yet for every project, they go through this massive exercise beforehand of, scoping it and business cases and then standing up the team and sourcing resources. And there's a cost that comes to that. And then they do the project, and at the end, they disband it all and they do all their financial closure and PIRs and capitalization and blah, and there's a cost to that, right? We could save them that cost. You don't need to stand up teams and you don't need to do all that stuff. There's a huge waste saving that would come from having long-standing teams, persistent teams, product focused. Anyway, great question. Thank you very much. All right. I do want to give some time to a couple of people to have a chat. So first off, we have Jyoti with us, and Jyoti has a great story that she'd like to tell. So I might start with you, Jyoti. I'll hand over.
Actually, I have another who's been saying hi. I'm just going to say, Johanna, I brought him for you. Hey, World Forum over here. We have Dallas from Dallas. Dallas, are you still there? Did he just drop off? We have Dallas, we have Alberto, and we also have Maru from Nigeria.
Awesome.
I've been just chatting with them. I don't know, where are you from, Roderick? So sorry if I don't say that, but don't know if
Maru from Morocco. From
Morocco. I'm so sorry.
Almost Nigeria. It's almost the same country, but we're very close.
And Alberto, he's gonna have a serious talk with you tomorrow. So
I'm already chatting him up on WhatsApp. So.
Yeah. What I'll do is actually, if you guys don't mind, I'll let Darren go first because I also know that he's holding his dinner. So Darren, why don't you go first?
Sounds good. All right, Darren.
Sure. Thanks, Jyoti. So I've been exposed to SAFe for probably since 2018 now. So for the last 3 years, I've been doing Agile longer than that, but really when SAFe started to have its big boom, and it's funny because I've seen it in a few industries in Australia, in banking, in insurance, in the energy sector, but I got to tell you, the best place that I've actually seen it be done, and this is going to surprise people, is in government. Now, and this is because Typically what I found is that when the government wants to do something and they choose to do it as it says. And so this was a proper top-down, safe program of work where we're talking about, a whole lean portfolio management center in Canberra with 4 agile release trains around Australia, all working with each other, and it worked wonders. And I came into that project after, on the 3rd agile release train that was launched, after they had already had 2 going for about 2 years, and the program of work is still going ahead. And so this is like a 5-year program of safe driven work, and it's amazing. And I'm working in government now. That was federal government. I'm now in state government, and I've had lots of people say to me, Darren, safe doesn't work in government. And I say to them, what are you talking about? I implemented it in government. I've seen it work. The best place I've seen it is in government. And this is what SAFE version 5 has also recognized, and they've adapted. So now if you see at the full portfolio version of SAFE, it's actually got enterprise and government in the top corner, because it's recognized. And they've also got the whole SAFE for government training course that they offer, because they talk about how SAFE can be implemented in government, and it can be done very, very successfully. And I think, America is very much ahead in that. As you saw from Darryl's slides, there's a lot of American government departments that have gone SAFE. And I think in Australia, there's a lot that we can go to as well in both state and federal level by adopting SAFE. And that's part of what I'm trying to influence where I'm at now at the Department of Education and Training in Victoria. I think that's a little story from me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Darren. So I'm just sharing with everyone, this is the SAFE webpage that I was talking about, the homepage. And here up the top left corner is the enterprise and government sections that Darren was just talking about. So that's the government one there. And as I said, everything goes through to an article telling you more about it. So feel free to check it out. All right. Thank you, Darren. That's really good. Because I mean, it's one thing for me to come on here and say, oh, SAFE can do this and that. But when you have someone that's actually implemented it in an area where you might not think it would work, it's kind of a very different thing. All right. Yep. So I'll hand over. Thanks, Darren. Awesome. Joe T, did you want to talk to us now? All right.
I'll summarize as much as my little monster lets me. I have done 3 back-to-back scaled agile implementation, and I say scaled agile and not SAFE, but there's a subtle difference because I've taken the best of frameworks, values, and mindset that works and done that. Now, the one big one that we did was for insurance company in the US, and the best part was that we started top down. We literally started top down. So we had to get the CTO on board. We got the CEO on board. We got this chief architecture officer. So the whole transformation was actually led by that office. And that's how we got everybody onboarded. We did start with a very small team. When I say small, it was 182. And we did start with a very problematic team. That was the data team, which was central to the whole product engineering department that I was part of. But we did get quite a lot of success. It did take like a good 28 months for us to get into rhythm. But the whole product engineering department, which was 5,000 plus people, got onboarded with that. Happy to share details of it if you guys want to connect offline. But as you can see, I'm managing something more important. So I'm going to go on mute.
Thanks, JT. All right, excellent. We have got a little bit of time left, so I'm going to open the floor again now. Would anyone have any questions at all on this topic? Anything about, but does it really work, or pitfalls to watch out for, or what about all the SAFE bashing that's all over the internet, or anything? What would you like to hear about?
And guys, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the questions. Just ask so.
Absolutely, we don't bite. Well, actually, Shark does, I think. No.
Why SAFE? Why not Scrum at scale?
Why not Scrum at scale? I I'll just wait and see if anyone else has any questions first before I talk to Jyotis. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to hear about instead of that?
Oh, I'm happy to hear about that one. But also, you know what, pick up on your option of the safe bashing. Like, why is it? If you want to go there, but you don't have to, it's a Friday night, you know, whatever.
No, I love it, Joe. I love to go there.
Well, let's start with Jodie's question and then maybe go there, yeah?
Joe, bashing.
No, I'm going to go to the safe bashing one because that's a personal passion of mine.
Well, doesn't that start with the dialogue that we begin with?
Go for it, Marcus.
So if we go to somebody and we say, hey, we're implementing SAFE, it's a foreign object, right? And it's a vehicle. Whereas if we're going to somebody and we're talking about what problems do you have and what goals do you have, and what is the thing that's going to help you to get there, it's a different narrative. Like most of the SAFE implementations I've done, I've not actually talked about SAFE, right? I've used the good things out of the framework and have found ways to apply them, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is solving the organization's problems. And it just happened to be that for that organization, that the best vehicle to solve their problems was using SAFE or aspects of SAFE to it. And even this was why we developed this workshop, because Darrow and I came together and said, what do you see out in the marketplace? Leading SAFE, implementing SAFE, SAFE for architects, SAFE for teams. We're selling a product. We're not selling a solution. We're not helping organizations solve their problems. And I said to Darrow, why don't we run an experiment? What if we changed this and talked about leaders and how we help leaders to adopt business agility? And then SAFE is just simply the tool in the middle of it. So does that help with that question?
I'm neither one way or another with SAFE as such, because I've done SAFE training. It's more, it seems just to be more diversive, and I thought that's what Darryl was picking up. You know, like there's a SAFE camp, there's the not SAFE camp, and then there's some people in between. Yeah.
Yeah, not many in between. Not most people are firmly
either or
camp or the other, right? I even read another one today. You know, these people going on and on about how, you know, the audacity of SAFE to claim that it's agile, you know, because it's the opposite. It's even less agile than waterfall, you know, and all this stuff.
I mean, you use SAFE based on the organization. So if you've got an organization that's more to the left, and Darren gave his example there of government, which is definitely more to the left and it's more hierarchical, and therefore the delivery model is better suited to something that is scaled agile because it's very well controlled. If it's more to the right, hey, well, maybe we look at something more flexible and we think about tribes. You know, Darryl, you talk to Brendan. You know, Brendan's ex-Spotify, and he can tell you some amazing stories about how they operated, but that was contextual to their organization.
That's right.
So if we move to the second part of the question, which is Scrum at Scale does not sit as a competitor of SAFE in any way. If you zoom out, SAFE is a delivery framework. Scrum at Scale is the ability to start to question an organization and say, why do we need to scale? What are some of the key events and the key things that we're doing? And then what's the best pathway that we choose? And maybe it is SAFE, maybe it's less, maybe it's Nexus. There's a whole raft of them out there. But Scrum at Scale just gives us the visibility to make the correct decision. So we're asking ourselves the questions rather than following on with the answers.
And I think exactly, just so to follow on then from what Marcus is saying, you know, what we advocate is that you look at anything in the agile world as a bit like you've got a toolbox with a whole bunch of tools in it. And the question is not, you know, is a hammer inherently better than a screwdriver? Well, no, they're just tools. Which is the right tool for the job in front of you? That's the question to be asking. And so if the tool in front of you, you know, is the right one, well, then great. And if you've got some other different problem that needs a different tool, well, use that tool, right? But where I find it very challenging personally, you know, is when people, you know, bring shame culture and you know, bad and wrong into your choice of tool. You know, there are people out there that absolutely hate shifting spanners, hate them. right? Shifting spanners are a symbol of all that's wrong with the world. And if you use a shifting spanner, you're bad and wrong and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm like, it's a shifting spanner. Are we really having this conversation about a shifter? Really? And it's kind of, to me, it's exactly the same. Agile, safe, Scrum, Kanban, Scrum at scale, whatever. They're all just tools in your toolbox. Sometimes one is the right choice based on the problem in front of you, and sometimes it's a different tool, and that's all.
And Daryl, that goes back to Roderick's question before about size of organizations and what can be used, right? Because if you look at SAFE as a toolkit, which is what it is, right? It's built up of tools and techniques and methods. What is it? 100 different principles, 100 different implementations, right? You can use any one of them. Like I use vote of confidence in my company of 2 people, right? And that's something that's done in SAFE as PI planning. So it's for you as the Roderick to look at this overall framework and say, which parts can I apply that will help me be successful in my company?
I'd like to add something, and going back to Joe, right? If you look at all the bashing that's been happening, the bashing seems to be pointed at the tool, but actually it's the handyman who have done the mistake, right? People who do not know how to use the tool go in saying that this is a silver bullet, screw up the situation in multiple organizations and blame, here is a tool which screwed that up, but that's not the case. So this is where when Daryl and Marcus is telling that let's ask the business questions first, that's them showing that, hey, as handyman, let me first understand what the problem is, and then let me go on fixing that. That's that. Hope that makes sense.
Hey, it was Daryl that brought up safe bashing on a Friday night. So she, like,
that is right.
Oh,
like
yeah,
I would
no,
never
yeah.
have gone there, but you brought it up, so I thought, hey,
Yeah.
what's your
Well,
opinion on it?
We can be a little bit provocative on a Friday night, can't we? A bit controversial, you know. All right,
Ask a question.
please.
So what are, from your experience, what are kind of the characteristics that you say, oh, maybe like this, the company should have these kind of characteristics for them to use safe and is gonna be successful? Or maybe the one that is not, you think like is not gonna be successful based on your experience?
The one that would make, in my opinion, in my experience, the one single factor that makes the biggest difference is being open, being willing. You know, if they are what I call coachable, right? If they're open and willing to try things and to learn new things and to be, you know, to changing things and trying things, that openness and willingness, you can teach any of the rest of the stuff, like the tools, the practices, like any of that stuff can just come. But if they've got that open and willingness, then you can take them there. If they don't have that, then all of the tools and all the practices are not going to make them agile.
That's why if you look at the slides that we showed before, Joanna, you start with that little narrative around, you know, these are the changes in industry and organizations, and this is what's happening and the level of disruption. So you could easily take that away from this session and you could start to talk to leaders in your organization, and you'll be able to tell right then, right? So if leaders can see that and go, yeah, we recognize there's disruption happening. We're getting our lunch eaten from smaller competitors coming up. We're seeing digital affecting our industry massively. We recognize the need to change. Then that's a door open to have a conversation about transformation. But if they're quite happy to stick their head in the sand and carry on doing things the way that they've always done them, well, you're never going to see any difference. We had the slides before and it talked about John Cotter. He is probably one of my favorite authors when it comes to change management. And there's actually a book that's not in those slides, but it's called It's Not How We Do Things Around Here. If anybody can get a copy of that book, it's very short. It's a business fable, but it tells the story of meerkats in the Kalahari Desert. And, you know, you're thinking meerkats and change, what's this got to do with anything? But the story is you've got a group of meerkats that come under pressure. The climate changes, it starts raining more, you have vulture attacks. And this group, there's 2 groups. One group says, let's stay the same. They become extinct. The other group says, what do we need to do to change and adapt to our environment? And actually listen to some of those people that are on the front line. So it's really for you to have that conversation with your leaders and your organization and say, are they open to change? And if they are, then maybe this is a vehicle that can help them on that journey to change.
Yeah, so yeah, I understand that point, but I think like that doesn't help to differentiate if I should use safe or not, because what you said about openness, I think about
Yeah.
all of the frameworks, like you need to have that mindset and that openness. But I wanted to understand a little bit more. For example, in the client what I am working on, some part of the in tech, some part of the company they are using safe, but like how do I recognize, oh, this is the best way to go, or maybe this is not the best way?
I understand the question more
Yeah.
now. Yeah. So one of the things that is an indicator that SAFE is a good solution, a good tool to use, is if the people in the organization are very process driven and kind of want to understand how all the bits fit. Using one of the other scaling frameworks is much more loose and lightweight, and many organizations with their senior people struggle to understand how they would implement that, how it would, like, where's my role? You know, if everyone's going agile, what am I supposed to do? Or if you have people who are big picture people that want to kind of see how, you know, what does this mean? What does an agile organization look like? You need to have some way of showing them a picture. Now, some of the other frameworks have some information about that, but often it's, you know, kind of, you know, create your own or whatever. SAFE has a very clear picture that you can show them. And I think they've marketed it really well, which I think is a big key as to why it's been so successful. Another one is as well, it depends on what other products that the organization have. You know, are they big products that need lots of people contributing to them, or are they lots of little smaller products? Because if they're lots of little smaller products, like depending on how small, like you might just have individual agile teams. You don't need a scaling framework for that. You have one team that manages one small product and they're responsible for it and they take care of it and it's their baby. But if you've got really big, you know, solutions, then, you know, SAFE is often a good way of doing that.
Okay, thank you. I think then we are going in the right path. Thank you.
All right, we are a little bit over time. So I did just want to quickly one more time ask any other questions. Otherwise, we will finish it up for the night. Jyoti has just put the link in for the John Cotter book that Marcus was just talking about. Thank you very much for that.
And Daryl, just letting the people know that while these two brilliant trainers are going to train Safe Agilists, but not the traditional one, the same thing, but they are going to bring in the business context to it. So for our crowd today, we have a 10% discount code, which I put in case you're interested. Feel free to just message in LinkedIn. Be more than happy to support. Just thought I'd drop that note.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to refer anyone in an organization or someone in your network or whatever, we'll still honor that code. So, you know. All right. Wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Great conversation and interactions. So thanks for your attendance this evening. All the best. Be well, be agile, be safe. Get it? Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Great Friday night. Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Great Friday morning, rather.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alberto.
Alberto.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marcos.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah, Almaro.
Yeah, Alberto, I'll be chatting you up. I need to know about those certifications you've been talking about yesterday and the Scrum at Scale things. So
it's all right. No issues.
Okay.
Awesome. See you guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Daryl, Marcus, would you like to stay back for a couple of minutes?
Yep.
1 minute.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
All right. Oh, yes. Actually, Murtaza is also here because, by the way, do you know Murtaza?
Yeah,
You do, right? Just for that.
I think we do, yes.
He's taking care of the strategy right now for incremental and putting together things. And hence, we thought, I'm sorry, Murtaza, do you want to take your point? I did want to talk about our sessions for another 15 minutes, just to ensure that we have the right understanding with the fact that right now Marcus has got a mail as well. So he has pulled down the website.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Sorry. So just so I'm on the same page, are we asking for 5 minutes or 15 minutes or how long?
Oh, 15 minutes.
15 minutes. I think we should be.
Really do with it being 5. It's.
Yeah.
I've got to put my kids to bed shortly. So.
Oh, sure. All right. Let's make it quick 5. Murtaza, key things.
Sure. I mean, for me, honestly, there are only 2 things which I would like to talk to Marcus and Daryl about. Okay.
Yep.
The first thing is that I was having a bit of a chat with Jyoti before the call, and as Shakti has explained, I am trying to help Incremental to put their delivery pipeline, which is specifically targeted on trainings at the moment.
Right.
In terms of in a flow state where things are hopefully going smoothly and there is no stress for anyone involved. All right. So on that one, the first thing which I had discussed with Jyoti was about the training, which as far as I know is going to be on 6th of May, right? It's 6th of May and maybe 7th of May, right?
Yep.
Okay, so on that one, there was the first thing, which is we have a session on Sunday, and I was wondering if you will be able to join Daryl and Marcus.
No, I won't be able to join.
Okay. And what about you, Daryl?
Maybe
It's at 3:30.
Maybe. So what is it for?
It's just, because we are as one of the things which we are trying to do as a part of this initiative is to put everything together which we need before the training, at the time of the training, and after the training. Okay. So we just want to be sure. Yeah.
Yep. How long?
The time which we would need from you.
Yep. How long on Sunday?
It will be 30 minutes. So you will do it straight away, before any other items in the agenda. We'll do this part, make sure the input we need from you is all captured.
Okay.
And then we will go on to the other business ourselves.
Okay. All right. Send me the invite. I'll double check with Al and let you know.
Okay. Perfect. Cool. So then I think we don't need to hold them in this case, Sakti, because we are going to have Daryl in the call for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And then we cover, everything which we need to cover in those 30 minutes and have a clear agreement in terms of how we're going to go about this training and future trainings as well.
All good, Murtaza. My only thing is that, again, Marcus sent that email with the thing.
We don't need this on the recording.
Oh, yeah.